Welcome to The Explainer. There's one book in the Bible that a lot of people just skip, Leviticus. It feels kind of weird, right? Intimidating. But what if I told you there's a powerful, unified message hiding in plain sight? That's what we're going to unlock today. All right, so let's just be honest. You crack open Leviticus and it's like, whoa. Laws about skin diseases, what you can and can't eat, even rules about not mixing fabrics. It's easy to think, what does this have to do with anything today? Is it just a bizarre, outdated rulebook? Or is there something more profound going on? Let's dig in. So to really get to the bottom of Leviticus, we have to start with this one huge idea, the concept of the law. And notice I said the law, singular, not the laws, plural. That one little difference, it changes everything.
I love this analogy. Think about it. The law isn't some buffet where you can pick the rules you like and leave the rest. Nope. It's presented as the single, seamless whole, like a pearl necklace. If that string snaps, it doesn't matter how many pearls are left. The whole thing is broken. Every single part is connected. And this leads us to the master key that really unlocks the whole book. Ready? Holiness equals wholeness. Every single rule, yeah, even the weird-sounding ones, was meant to fit together perfectly. It's all about creating a complete, integrated picture of a life that's totally dedicated to God. You gotta remember, in the ancient world, gods were all over the place, chaotic. This idea that your spiritual life should touch every part of your actual life, that was absolutely revolutionary.
Okay, so if the law is this one perfect thing, that brings up a pretty big question, right? Why are so many of the commands just stated with no explanation? Like, why can't you wear clothes made of mixed fabrics? Why can't you crossbreed certain animals? Where's the because? And right here, this is the big clash. Our modern brains are wired to ask why. We want reasons. We want the logic behind the rule. But the law, it's asking for something totally different. It's calling for obedience that comes from a place of trust, especially when you don't get the why. The source puts it in a way that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like a parent's instruction. Sometimes the ultimate reason is simply because I said so. It's not about being a tyrant. It's a test of the relationship. The real question being asked is, do you trust me? Do you trust that I know what's best, even if you don't see it right now? See, in this framework, true obedience isn't about doing the math. It's about trust. And make no mistake, these weren't just suggestions. These commands had teeth, real, serious consequences. If you were an individual, breaking the law could get you kicked out of your home, out of the whole community. If the whole nation disobeyed, we're talking invasion, exile, losing everything. There's this super direct link being made: holiness leads to well-being, happiness follows holiness. All right, now let's shift gears a little bit. Because from a Christian perspective, all these ancient laws and rituals, they get a whole new layer of meaning. They stop being just historical rules and start becoming, well, science, pointing to something on the horizon. The word used is shadows. And that's a perfect way to think about it. A shadow gives you the outline, right? You can see the shape of the person, but it's not the actual person. In the same way, all these rituals in Leviticus are seen as a foreshadowing. They're the shadow. And the substance, the real thing they're pointing to, is Christ. And you can see this so clearly in some of the big rituals. The Passover lamb, that's a picture of redemption. The scapegoat, wow, what an image. This goat that symbolically has all the sins of the people put on it and is then sent out into the wilderness. That's a powerful picture of what theologians call substitutionary atonement. The innocent taking the place of the guilty. See, these aren't just random ceremonies. They're stories pointing forward. So, the big question is, what happens to all this stuff in the New Testament? Does it just get tossed in the trash? Well, no. And the distinction made here is super important. Get this, the law isn't abolished, it's fulfilled. Think of it like a construction project being completed. The blueprints, the sacrificial rituals, aren't needed anymore because the building is finished, it's done. But the deep moral foundation, the principles like love your neighbor as yourself, which, by the way, comes straight from Leviticus, those endure. They're still absolutely central. And you can see that transformation right here. The focus totally shifts. It moves from the outside to the inside, from things like external rules about what foods you can eat to internal realities, like the purity of your heart and your mind. The whole reward system shifts too, from immediate earthly blessings to something much bigger, something eternal. Okay, so we've looked at the law, the stakes, and how it's seen as fulfilled. When you boil it all down, Leviticus leaves us with four huge timeless truths that are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Let's break them down. First up, the holiness of God. And we're not just talking good. Leviticus paints this picture of a God who is completely, utterly other, separate, pure. It's a quality so intense and powerful, it demands our awe and sets the standard for, well, everything. Second, you get this really raw, unfiltered look at human sinfulness. I mean, think about it. All those constant rituals for cleansing and making things right, they're not just there for decoration. They're a constant in-your-face reminder that we mess up and we desperately need grace. The third truth is the fullness of Christ's sacrifice. From this Christian viewpoint, every single one of those animal sacrifices, every ritual of atonement, was just a signpost pointing to the cross. That's the moment where God's perfect justice and his incredible mercy collide and are both satisfied.
And finally, number 4, and this one might be the most mind-blowing of all. Holiness isn't just for church on Sunday or for special ceremonies. It's total. It covers everything: the mundane, everyday stuff, what you eat, how you do business, your relationships, all of it. The big takeaway is that no part of your life is off limits or uninteresting to God. So at the end of the day, we're left with this really powerful thought. Leviticus, this book that seems so ancient and strange, is actually pushing a radical idea that your everyday life, your job, your family, your finances, all of it can be sacred. It challenges us to stop separating our spiritual life from our real life and see it all as one. So the final question for you is, what would it actually look like to find that kind of holiness, that wholeness in the ordinary parts of your life?